The client is 61 years old. He has $412,000 saved, the entire result of 34 years of work, and he is sitting across from you because he trusts you. You have already run the numbers. The lowest cost option for him is a simple index fund charging 0.04% a year. You know this. The screen in front of you knows this. But the product you are about to recommend charges 1 7/10% plus a 5.5% sales load on the way in. On his $412,000, the gap between those two products will cost him close to $7,000 a year, every year, for the rest of his life, and it pays your firm a commission that the index fund does not. You will not lie to him. You will not have to. You will simply recommend the second best thing, warmly, and he will thank you for it on the way out the door. He will tell his wife tonight that he finally found someone he can trust with the money. Here is how a room designed to look like advice actually works, seen from the chair on the other side of the desk. Your first week, they hand you a list. It is called the Approved Product List, and it is the menu of everything you are permitted to recommend to a client. You assume, at first, that the list is the set of best available options, filtered by experts upstairs so that you do not have to do it yourself. It is not. The list is the set of products that have agreements with your firm. Every fund on it pays your firm something: a revenue sharing arrangement, a distribution fee, a commission, in exchange for shelf space and your recommendation. The index fund charging 0.04% is not on the list because the index fund pays nothing to be there. It does not need to. It sells itself on cost alone. Your firm does not make money selling the things that sell themselves. You learn the language in your first month of training, and the language is the real product. You do not sell products. You provide solutions. You do not earn commissions. You receive compensation. The client does not pay fees. The account simply has an expense ratio. Each phrase is technically accurate and engineered to slide cleanly past the part of a person that would otherwise stop and ask a sharper question. You practice saying these phrases in role-play sessions until they stop sounding like a script and start sounding like your own honest thoughts. That is the point at which they decide you are ready to sit with a real client. You sit in on your first few meetings and watch a senior advisor work the room. A retired teacher walks in with $210,000 rolled over from a school district retirement plan. The advisor is warm, fluent, patient, genuinely likable. He recommends a variable annuity carrying a 6.25% first-year commission, a 7-year surrender period that locks her money in place, and total annual costs above 3%. The teacher leaves the office grateful. She has been advised by a professional. She believes, completely, that she has been helped, and at no single point in that hour did anyone say one false sentence to her. You do the arithmetic on her annuity later that evening, quietly, because something about it would not leave you alone. Over the 7 years her money is locked away, the costs will consume roughly $44,000 of her $210,000 before a single market downturn touches it. A plain index fund would have cost her under $600 across the same span. The difference, more than $40,000, did not vanish. It moved from her retirement into the firm, and a slice of it into the senior advisor's compensation for the quarter. That is the part that takes you weeks to fully understand. Nothing illegal happened in that room. Nothing even unusual happened. The meeting was not a violation of the system. The meeting was the product working exactly the way it was designed to work. It takes you about 4 months to notice the thing nobody in the building ever says out loud, which is the quiet truth the whole building is organized around, that the product shelf was never built for performance. Once you have seen it, you cannot stop seeing it in everything. The compensation grid taped to the wall of the back office ranks the products not by how well they perform for the client, but by how much they pay the firm. The annuity pays the most, so the annuity is what gets recommended for the largest rollovers that come through the door. The proprietary mutual fund, the one with your own firm's name printed on it, pays the second most, so it quietly anchors the standard portfolio that nearly every client walks out holding. The low-cost index fund that the financial press keeps telling people to buy appears nowhere on the grid at all, because there is no version of it that pays for the office lease, the salaries, the compliance department down the hall, or your own monthly draw against commission. You begin to understand the geometry of where you actually sit. You are not positioned between the client and the market, the way the brochure on the lobby table suggests. You are positioned between the client and the firm's quarterly revenue targets, and your real job is to make the second one feel, to the client, like devoted service to the first. You are measured every month on a single figure called production, the total revenue your recommendations generate for the firm, and that figure is printed, ranked, and posted where everyone can see it. The number on the wall beside your name is roughly $30,000 a quarter. Fall below it for 2 quarters running, and the conversation about your desk begins. An advisor who consistently recommended the cheapest, best-performing options for his clients would generate almost no production at all, and he would not survive his first 12 months in the building. The system does not need to corrupt good people to function. It simply does not retain the ones who optimize for the client, because they do not produce enough to keep their desk. And the ones who remain, year after year, are precisely the ones who learn to call the second best thing a solution and mean it. A man comes in one afternoon with an old pension rollover worth $340,000. You run his numbers honestly in your own head while he talks. The truth is that he would be best served leaving the money exactly where it already sits, inside a low-cost government plan he already holds, and doing nothing with it at all. But there is no commission in nothing. There is no production in leaving a man's money alone. So you find the version of a recommendation that is fully defensible, that fits neatly inside every rule, that a compliance officer would stamp without a second glance, and that recommendation happens to generate $11,000 in fees in its first year. You tell yourself it is a reasonable allocation for a man his age. And it is reasonable, that is the entire trap. It is always reasonable. It is simply never the best available option. And the best option is the one thing the room you work in is structurally incapable of putting in front of him. That is the week a colleague leans over and tells you to actually read Form ADV Part 2, page 23. The disclosure document every single client receives, and almost none of them ever open. You read it that night, alone, for the first time, even though your own clients have been signing it for months. Page 23 is where the firm discloses, in full, in plain language, that a regulator reviewed and approved, that it receives compensation directly from the products it recommends to you, that this arrangement creates a clear conflict of interest, and that the advice you are given may therefore not be the most cost-effective option available to you in the wider market. It is all there, in writing, in black and white. Every client signed the page. Every client physically received the document that explains, in calm and complete sentences, that the room was never built for them. Almost none of them read past the first page, because the document runs 41 pages long, and it arrives buried in a stack with 11 other forms. During a meeting where a warm and likable person across the desk is already gently telling them that everything has been taken care of. The disclosure was never designed to be a warning that anyone acts on. It is the precise legal mechanism that converts the conflict from a hidden thing into a disclosed thing. And disclosed is the only thing the conflict is ever legally required to be. The firm is not hiding what it does. It is carefully documenting what it does, on page 23, in exchange for the permanent right to keep doing exactly that. The client's signature at the bottom of the form is the client agreeing, in advance and in writing, that they were told everything, on the day they understood none of it. The Monday after you read it, you have a new client of your own, a widow with $280,000 and no idea what any of the acronyms mean. You slide the 41-page packet across the desk. You watch her sign page 23 without reading it because you are warm and likable and you have already told her everything is taken care of. You do exactly what was done to the teacher, and you do it well, and your production for the month goes up. You stay. Almost everyone stays. The mortgage you signed last year quietly assumed this income, and the income assumes the grid on the wall. And the grid assumes that you will keep recommending the products that feed it. You get good at the work. You become warm and fluent and genuinely likable because you slowly discover that the clients who truly trust you actually do better than the clients who feel sold to. And so, being trustworthy quietly becomes the single most productive skill you own. The 61-year-old with $412,000 signs the forms exactly where you show him to sign. He shakes your hand warmly on his way out of the office. He tells the next person in his life that he has finally, after all these years, found an advisor he can actually trust. The firm did not lie to him. It disclosed everything it does on page 23, and then it built the entire room around him so that he would never once read it. 3 things you can do this week if you are the one sitting on the other side of that desk. Ask one question, in writing, before you sign anything at all. Are you a fiduciary, legally required to act in my best interest at all times, on every part of this account? Get the answer in writing, not in conversation. The hesitation in how they reply will tell you more than the words themselves ever could. Ask what your all-in annual cost actually is, stated as a single percentage, including the fund expense ratio, the advisory fee, and any sales load combined. If that one number sits above 1% and you are holding standard funds, you are paying for the room, not for the returns. On a $400,000 account, the difference between 1 7/10% and 0.04% is roughly $6,600 a year, every year, compounding away from you for as long as you stay. Read page 23. Find Form ADV Part 2 for any firm before you ever hand them $1, and read the Conflicts of Interest section first, before anything else. It is the one page in the entire stack that was written specifically to be skipped. The client is 61. He has $412,000 and a firm handshake from a man he trusts completely. Somewhere in the stack of papers he just signed is the single page that told him everything. He is already out in the parking lot, the folder of signed papers on the passenger seat beside him. He feels, for the first time in many years, like someone is finally and truly looking out for him.